Last night, I got to see a new movie called Companion featuring Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher, and this was directed by Drew Hancock, which I've never seen any of his previous work before because he hasn't done much outside of this film. But I will say, this is going to be a spoiler-free review, and this is because I don't think many people are going to go see it in theaters right now. And so if you want to watch this online later or any other version of streaming it, you totally can, but I would recommend watching this film without seeing the trailers. So before we get into the actual review, remember to like and subscribe, and let's get into the good. All right, with the good, like I said, you need to go into this movie without knowing the trailers. There's a lot of things that happen in this movie that would be good for a plot twist if you like plot twists in films. So you'll have a lot more fun if you go in without seeing this trailer. So I'm just gonna give you the basic overview of this movie so that we can get into the actual good that I've found in the film. And so with this, it follows Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher as a couple, and they go on into a cabin with their friends, and one of them is there for ulterior motives. And that's all I'm gonna give you, because there's a lot of fun things that you can have in this film that can be a surprise to you if you go in without watching this trailer. If you've seen it, again, no worries, but it'll be a lot of fun. Moving on to the actual good of this film, I think Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher have really good chemistry together. There's a lot of scenes where they play off each other, and it evolves the plot more than it should have with a basic set of actors. I think they really have a good competition chemistry as well as loving chemistry, and so there's a lot of good things with these two actors acting together, and I really enjoyed them building off each other and elevating the story as what it could have been really basic plot, and so I really appreciated that. The next thing that was really good of this film is actually the comedy, and this one was something I was not expecting at all. I saw a couple of funny things in the trailers, but nothing like crazy. This one had a lot, and I mean a lot of jokes at many different points of this movie. And normally what I'm about to say would be a negative, but they pulled it off really well, and I was actually really surprised. So there's a lot of scenes where they have something serious happen, but then they transition it smoothly into a comedy joke, and then they cut to a comedy clip, and it was done really well. Like for example, they'll move something from a smooth conversation to people dancing in dinosaur costumes, and I'm like, what is happening here? But it was done really well. So the jokes, the movie didn't take itself completely seriously, but it took it serious enough to where they could actually have the heartfelt conversations in this film. I just think that was done really well. Normally, if you can't pull that off well enough, I would just say that's part of the bad, but again, really well done. That I was not surprising that happened at all. And this is out throughout the whole film until around the last 30 minutes. They kind of leave the comedy behind, which is probably a good thing because that's where everything seriously kicks in. But I really liked the comedy in this film. The next thing I would really say is really good. It's actually the music choice as well as the stylistic choice. Even the color palette was all pretty unique to this film. I think it elevated the experience for me. I normally don't notice the color palette or think that the music really elevates an experience, but this one, the vibe of it, of the whole shots, of everything that's happening, it was done well, and I think this really captured a different, unique take to sort of a basic story. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. This is something I need to be better at with doing, but the vibe of this film, I liked it. I didn't think I was going to go into it liking it. I thought it looked kind of cheesy, but no, I wish I knew how to verbalize it better. But I liked the color palette, the vibes of the shots. The cinematography was really well done. A bunch of pull-out shots, and that was good as well. My final thing about this movie that I really liked was the sort of how they portray relationships and situations. So, for example, they have a toxic relationship that was talking about how you can control someone and that they owe you with their life and that they should be only yours. And then there was a lot of things where it's just loving relationships where you would have a normal relationship and how that would look like and how you want to feed into making each other better. And I just think that the whole idea with that brought the plot together well enough for me, but the plot wasn't done the best way possible, and some of that is going to be in the mixed right now. All right, so as I said in the good section, there was a lot of good things with this plot, with the way that they portray relationships. I think that was one of the things that they really exceeded at in this film. However, again, the plot I was kind of mixed on, and a lot of it comes from the way people or characters made decisions. There were some parts in this film where I thought that one character does something and then the way they get out of the situation is doing something smarter than what I would have actually thought they would have done. And I really like that because this movie is smarter than me in some sense. And I like when I can't predict what the movie's going to do. And so this movie had me guessing quite a bit, but there was also some really difficult scenarios where they could have been avoided if character did one thing differently. Or if they chose to do this instead of this, the movie could have been done within 30 minutes max. And so that was also kind of the frustrating thing. That's why it's in the mix section, because at some points, at its best, the movie was smarter than me in guessing the plot, and I was just kind of being put on a train for a ride. Or there were times where I'm like, this movie could have been done 5 seconds ago if you would have done this. And so that was something I was kind of frustrated with when watching the film. Again, it didn't take me out of the experience. It's just something I noticed while watching the film. A lot of other people might have different opinions, and that's okay because that's what opinions are. And anyways, that's all I had for the mixed, really. So we're going to move on to the bad. With the bad of this film, it didn't ruin my experience, but there's a couple of things that I kind of noticed while watching the film that I wish kind of were developed more or maybe left out or added onto. So here's the first thing I wish that they would have developed more, and this is the underlying motive on why the characters are there. As I said in the very beginning of this review, there is a motive for one of the characters and why they're going to this cabin. And so you'll figure it out, but I don't want to give it away because I think the movie is way more fun if you don't know what the motive is or what's happening or the plot twists that kind of ensue around this plot. And so there is a motive. However, it kind of lacks after the first 20 minutes. It's there and they cut to it, or they have a joke about it, or they're like, we can't leave without blank because of blank. And so it is there. It's just, I don't feel like it's fully developed. The plot's not wrapped around it, which I think it's more wrapped around relationships, which it should be, but it's kind of just taking the back burner. And I think this is the whole reason why they're in this predicament in the first place, that they should focus on more of this idea, and they kind of just don't. So I wish they developed more of this underlying theme. The next thing in the bad would kind of be tied to this, and this would be more of the ending. The ending itself, it's not bad. The ending itself is not terrible. It's just that I felt like the movie could have ended 20 minutes, 15 minutes before it actually did. And because they would have something happen, the character would get shot or someone would die, and then you're like, oh, okay, that was it. No, the character comes back, or another character comes back to get vengeance, someone dies, and then you're like, oh, that was it. And then they're like, no, there's another tag-on scene that you need to watch. And so it was just kind of clunky in that sense. I think I could have walked out of that theater, 15 minutes earlier and been completely okay with the time I spent in the theater. But, runtime happens, and so it is what it is. That was a little nitpick I found while watching the film. I don't know if anyone else feels that way as well. The next thing, and most likely the last thing I will be talking about, is the background cast. The background cast itself didn't provide much for the movie. They were there, but they were there for bodies. They were there to get killed. And I'm not gonna say that it was shocking to me that they were there for that reason, but they would go and do something stupid and then they'd die. There was a lot of interesting themes and ideas set up with these characters. Oh, that would be really interesting, and then no, dead. So yeah, I just think that they could have done more with the background characters. They didn't leave any impression on me, and there are some that were more enthusiastic and more I tended to like more than others, but other than that, they were just kind of there for bodies, and I wish they would have had more memorable things that happened to them. Real quick, before I give you my final opinions, I would love to hear what you have to say about the movie Companion down below. If you've seen it, what did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Would you recommend it to someone? And if you haven't, what are some reasons why you're not going to go see it? Or vice versa, why are you going to go see it now? I would love to hear what you have to say down below, as well as consider subscribing to this channel. I would love to have 50 subscribers by April. That is the goal. And then also consider following me on these different social media platforms. I would love for you guys to hear me and follow me there as well. Let me know about all this stuff, but now we're going to get into the final review. All right, for the star score, I'll be giving Companion a 4 out of 5 stars. For the actual score itself, I'll be giving Companion a 7.5 out of 10. And for the final recommendation, I would say I would recommend you go see this movie. So as you guys know, I actually really did like this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. There is some sexual stuff in this, so if that's not your thing, please don't go see it. But I had a lot of good things to say about this movie, and I had a pleasant experience walking out, and so I would recommend this movie to you. But that is all I have to say about Companion. These were just my opinions of the film, and I would love to hear what you have to say, what your thoughts were. That's what movies are supposed to do for us, bring us together and talk about different things, different aspects we liked. So I would love to hear what you got to say in the comments below, as well as consider clicking over here on a couple of different other videos I have. I would love for you guys to check out my other stuff, and then consider clicking subscribe, and you guys be safe out there and take care.